Manchester City agree a £500,000 a week deal to bring Erling Haaland to the Etihad next season. This is groundbreaking transfer news. The most exciting number nine, the most exciting young up-and-coming number nine in the world is on the edge of joining the current champions of England, Pep Guardiola's Manchester City, that have been so dominant domestically for the past 4 to 5 years, are looking to add one of the most potent young strikers in the history of European football. It is now expected that Manchester City, after agreeing terms with Haaland's representatives, will trigger the release clause with Borussia Dortmund. The German side were hoping to try and sign a new deal to remove that buyout clause. Most expected this to be the summer of 2022, when the player moved on. Remember, it was Harry Kane who was linked with a big money move to Manchester City just 12 months ago. A penny for his thoughts, as Erling Haaland looks set to follow in his father's footsteps and play for Manchester City. I want your thoughts. I want your feelings. Leave your comments below. Make sure the like button has been hit right now. Let's do this. Erling Haaland agrees terms with Manchester City amid Chelsea transfer links for the Dortmund striker. And of course, Chelsea heavily linked with the Borussia Dortmund striker, the exciting Erling Haaland last year, but it appears to be Manchester City that have taken matters forward. Personal terms agreed with the representation. The clause set to be triggered following this significant step forward in this big transfer. And it's likely, now this is according to the big report coming out, it's likely to happen in the next week or so. That is the prediction. Now, what's very intriguing is this. Now, we'll talk Haaland in a moment. Let's speak about the pattern of transfers for a minute here. We've been talking about this on the Terrace now for the past 2 summers. You're going to see it again this year. And I'm hoping that football fans have caught on to this. The official bids and official conversations between the respective clubs doesn't happen until personal terms are agreed, until the player potentially moving has given a 99.9% certified agreement to the purchasing club that is going to go there. Clubs care too much about PR. They care too much about being made to look silly if a rival picks up a player. So you often get the personal terms being agreed first, and just as this is via representatives. And often, it's a little different in this circumstance because there's a buyout clause, but often these conversations are done via intermediaries. So expect to see that kind of, if it hasn't come out already by the time you're watching this, that will be how this is explained. The difference is, though, between this deal and the majority of other transfers is there is a buyout clause. The amount is rumored. I've seen everything from 60 to about 75 million pounds, that price range. The most common number I've seen is 63 million in recent times. Because of that buyout clause, Man City don't need to speak to Borussia Dortmund. They have to, other than here's our submitted bid, here's our official bid, here's how we're going to pay it to you. And like most buyout clauses, it is a lump sum up front. They have to pay a direct bank transfer, a SWIFT payment in this regard, between the accounts. Of course, a little bit of some banker somewhere is going to make a nice bit of money on the spread when it comes to the exchange rate on this from pounds to euro. Although Man City probably have a Euros account just sitting there with lots of money in it as well, because that's a sensible thing to do, but that's very boring, so let's not talk about that. This is different from other transfers because Man City only have to get an agreement from the player. Borussia Dortmund can't reject the bid. So what the 2 stages generally of a transfer will be: convincing the player 100%, along with his agent and representation. And of course, then doing the deal with the buying club. So you can do the first part, and then you can spend days, weeks, months trying to negotiate with the football club. This is easy. You pay the buyout clause, the player wants to join, it's done. Now, what's really significant about this deal for me, when you break it down or when you go through it in a little bit more detail, is the fact that this deal for me should be a sobering and worrying factor for rivals of Manchester City. Let's have this absolutely right. This is a dangerous, dangerous signing. Erling Haaland's record as a young striker in Europe has only been matched and or bettered pound for pound at the same age by the original Ronaldo R9. He's the only guy at his age to have more goals or a better goals to game ratio. Pound for pound. Haaland is elite, elite, elite. Now, there are some question marks over his fitness. There are some question marks over his injury record as of late. And we've all seen that. We've all heard about that. We all know about it. However, that's the only sort of question mark hanging over the head of this transfer. The thought and the feeling that he won't cut it in the Premier League is very few and far between. His technical ability, we know he's a very good football player as well as a striker. His physical attributes, when available, are absolutely impeccable. And as a goal scorer, he's beyond what Man City need. He's everything and more. He will gobble up the simplistic chances. He will score a huge percentage of the big chances created for him. But where he's an animal, where he's a monster, where he is dangerous as an attacker, is those half chances, those shots from angles and at moments in the game where you're not expecting a goal to go in. His movement, his ability to tap balls in, his ability to be in the right place at the right time for a big percentage of his goals is also a skill. If it was easy, I've seen lots of strikers like that in the past. Your Ian Rushes, your Ian Wrights, Ruud van Nistelrooys, who are always just in the right place at the right time. And they're often labeled, they're just lucky they were standing in the right place. No, their movement and ability to read the game, to know where the ball may end up based on probability. And that probability is often just, some of it's natural intelligence of the game, and the rest of it is reading and studying the game and going, do you know what? The ball ends up in this place a lot, so I'm gonna position myself to move into this area. Or they have great movement that sends the defenders off in the wrong direction. They pull back into a space that's open, and a player will pass the ball to them. It's brilliant. Haaland has all of that, but he also has the ability to have the ball in his possession, in the box, sometimes just outside the box, sometimes just in, at various angles with both feet, and he can still find the back of the net. And I don't know how to explain this in a hipster way, but just in layman terms, he can place the ball with ridiculous power. So he can find the corner of the goal, but put enough power on it that no goalkeeper is stopping it. A lot of players have to put laces through a ball to generate decent power. He has the ability to do it with the instep outside of his foot, as well as, of course, his laces as well. This is an impeccable player. And I said it before it was City. I said it when he was linked to Chelsea. I'll say the same at City, maybe even more so at City. If he stays fit, within 30 games, I believe he's going to break Ronaldo and Mo Salah's goal-scoring records for most goals in a 38-game Premier League season. 30 games, he'll do that. I believe he is that good. I believe he is that dangerous. I believe he is that fantastic a football player. Now, I'm a Manchester United fan. For anyone new tuning into the Terrace right now, make sure you're subscribing, by the way, leaving your comments below. I am a Man United fan, open about it. I've raved about this kid for years now. I'm not going to change my stance on him because he's going to City. Yes, there has been this question mark raised this season over his injury-prone nature, but he's young. He's got time. He has got time. A lot of people were worried about Liverpool signing of Konate. Looks like he's done okay. So I think that's the only slight question mark. Of course, some will say, is he Premier League proven? That shouldn't even be a worry for anybody. He's done it in a number of European leagues. He's done it regularly in the Champions League. He does it internationally. Pep Guardiola thinks he's the guy. And I believe that he will adapt to England very well, very quickly, and start off at electrifying pace at the Etihad. In terms of next season, look, Liverpool are always going to be there or thereabouts, irrespective of whether they win any more trophies this season or complete the famous quad. But signing Haaland for Man City, for me, makes them the outright favourites for next season, regardless of what happens next year. He is a difference maker. With a Haaland in this Manchester City team this season, a killer up front, Liverpool would never have caught them up. Liverpool would never have closed that gap. As good as they are, Liverpool could have won all these games leading up to being a point behind City, but City wouldn't have dropped the points this season with him. No shadow of a doubt. In those games that they've lost and drawn in that period, Haaland would be the difference. He simply and utterly would. This is a fantastic, a gargantuan, a giant piece of it's Premier League history. Yes, the size of the transfer fee is only going to read at £63 million, but you are getting a £200 to £250 million player on £500,000 a week, coming to one of the most consistent team domestically of the past 5 years, one of the best teams in the world as it stands right now. This is danger for all rivals, and everybody should be thoroughly scared, thoroughly worried, and looking to their own club, their own board now and saying, what is your response?